This episode of Vintage Stormfront Freaks has been previously recorded.
All right, everybody, let's introduce our guest here tonight. Jennifer Dunn is the warning coordination meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Fort Worth, Texas. She has chased storms since 2005 while at Texas A&M University, where she received a bachelor's degree in meteorology. Now, Jennifer started her career as an intern at the National Weather Service office in Corpus Christi before starting her professional career at the Fort Worth office as a forecaster, and in 2018 as the WCM. So, Jennifer, it's so wonderful to have you. And I think, a lot of us, or a lot of the people who are listening here today probably want to know, what is a warning coordination meteorologist? Why don't you give us kind of an update on what you do, and then maybe how you got interested in weather?
Yeah, absolutely. And explaining what my job is, or what my title is usually one of the first things I have to do whenever I go into a new place, because it's a little deceptive. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm coordinating all the warnings every time there's something going on in the office. The warning coordination meteorologist, in a nutshell, pretty much oversees the office's outreach, education, and really our partnership building with the many partners that we have, both in the broadcast sector and in the public sector, public safety sector usually. A lot of times it's emergency management. It's different safety responders at your local, regional, state, even sometimes national level, your national government partners as well. So we spend a lot of time working with our partners to make sure that they're getting the right information that they need, that they are receiving it, and it's coming in a way that works best for them so that they can utilize it to go on and make the decisions that they need to keep their community safe and resilient. So that's kind of in a nutshell what a warning coordination meteorologist does, along with a lot of other things. In particular, we're one of the managers in the office, so anything that comes along with that realm, whether it's budget items, purchasing, personnel issues, anything that needs to keep the office running, we work with our other managers to keep that in check within the office, or keep that going.
Jennifer gets to fire people.
I do not have that.
Oh, okay.
I do not have that, at least not directly, at least. So I don't get to do that. Don't have to worry about that, thankfully.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
So that sounds like you have more of a normal schedule. Do you have to rotate shifts too?
So normally I'm, an 8 to 4, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whichever works for the WCMs in the different regions. So not necessarily in shift work anymore, but I do cover shifts still occasionally. So I have to do some of that. I think I've got some midnight shifts coming up here over the next couple of months. So couldn't quite fully escape those, but majority of the time, I'm off of shift work now and on more of a normal schedule.
But when the warnings come in, it's all hands on deck, right?
Sometimes it depends on the scope of the event. Bigger events, or I should start out, smaller events that are maybe one or two storms impacting only a small area within our county warning area, which is our area of responsibility. Might only require, a handful of people or less, just depending on what's happening. But yeah, some of our bigger events, some of our bigger tornado outbreaks or big flooding events, or even our winter storm events, when we do get them, can require a whole up to 10 people sometimes, if we even have enough workstations for everybody, really. We can be limited sometimes by the amount of workstations that we have that people can actually work on. So it just kind of varies, and we leave it up to the lead forecasters, usually working as a team with the rest of the staff that's there at the time, to figure out how many people we need and how we're going to manage that.
How many are there, like all together?
So altogether, meteorologists, about an average for an office, I believe what we have close to right now is 15. If you include the entire staff, though, it's a little bit closer to 25, but that'll include your administrative assistants, all the electronic technicians that work to keep all the equipment running, whether that's the radar or our computer systems and the automated weather stations that we're responsible for. It includes a service hydrologist, an information technology officer, and then either what's called a DAPM or an OPL, who oversees kind of our volunteer weather observer program.
Any interns?
So the interns, the National Weather Service recently got rid of the term intern. Our interns used to be our entry-level meteorologists, the ones we hired out of college. They came in as interns and then they graduated up into forecasters. we actually we just got rid of that term within the last few months, and now they all fall under the umbrella of meteorologist. So there's still entry-level meteorologists doing their training to apply for or be bumped up into a forecaster position. So true intern-wise, we do still have student interns during the summer, usually, and sometimes we have volunteers throughout the summer and sometimes at other parts of the year too. So that fluctuates.
So they go from stewardess to flight attendant?
Yeah, something like that.
Pilot to pilot. So what type of weather is most difficult for you guys to handle? Is it the winter weather? Is it severe weather? Which one is the toughest, you think?
I think for here in North and Central Texas, the toughest one is probably winter weather, because we seem to be right on the border of where you transition from winter weather to no winter weather. And it doesn't happen too frequently here, but we do still get at least a few events each winter. But that seems to be one of the most challenging things, I think, because we're in that transition zone. Also, the models have a more difficult time, not all the time, but sometimes, helping us to figure out, exactly kind of what's going to happen and where. A lot of times our partners want to know exactly where that cutoff line is going to be, but they understand the imperfect science that we work with also, thankfully. So I think sometimes the models can struggle with a lot of times with precipitation type, which will make it a little bit more difficult. If we're not really planning for ice, we start out with ice, that can be a problem. Or if we transition to snow faster, things of that. So it takes a lot of experience and a lot of review every year for us, because it does happen infrequently, but it still does happen enough to where we're constantly trying to keep up with it.
I've noticed that a lot on storm totals, especially snow. Like just to the north of you, I'm trying to think of the smaller city that's just to the north of Dallas.
Plano or something?
Plano, McKinney, Denton.
Denton,
yes.
Denton always there'll be snow down at Denton and then nothing in Dallas.
Yes, it seems like that I-20 corridor right there through the immediate Metroplex area is a pretty good cutoff line for where the winter precip may end. Not saying that we can't or never have had winter precip, obviously south of there. As you know, it's been on Galveston Island, or it's been on South Padre before, down along the coast. But for us, the majority of that cutoff line ends up being right there along I-20 through the DFW area. Even east of there, sometimes we don't see a whole lot.
Sometimes that I-20 is the same thing in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah,
or the
I-20 is
Ohio River.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good marker.
Yeah, it is.
You think it would be easy to reference, but as I've discovered, there's a lot of people that don't know what side of the interstate they live on. So that becomes a big messaging challenge also.
Is there a lot of drinking going on there or what? How do you not know?
I plead the fifth. I'm not in
Texas. They have big beers in Texas, man.
Yeah, that's
right.
Barbecue.
They don't mess around.
We've got enough breweries around.
So Jennifer, tell me a little
good.
bit about what kind of tropical weather have you seen? Obviously, you're kind of north there into Texas, but what have you seen in your time there?
So we've had a few tropical systems that have made their way up into the north and central Texas area. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but we had one that was weakening from a tropical storm to a depression in our far southeastern county, where we had to issue, I think, a tropical storm warning just for the wind speeds in that area. But as far as our area goes, in my time there, that's the only time that we've actually had to issue any tropical products. However, we have had the remnants of tropical storms as they've kind of weakened as they've come in, such as Tropical Storm Hermine, I believe it was in 2008, if I recall correctly. And while it had weakened, I don't even believe it was no longer a depression anymore. It still had kind of that flow and that structure around it that it actually spun up a couple of tornadoes in our area. So we were instead dealing with severe weather and the remnants of it also. And then while we haven't seen a whole lot up here, I actually deployed down to Corpus Christi for Hurricane Harvey and spent the time down there
Really?
Helping them. Yeah, since I had started my career there and they needed some help, they asked if I could come back. So I went down there and spent, what did we spend, 2 nights sleeping in the office and just kind of watching where it was going to go, because Corpus was right in the path of it, or the main track of it. And then it made that shift, unfortunately. And then, of course, the heavy rainfall in Houston. So I'm in Corpus trying to help out there and get out, and my family's getting flooded or could be flooded in Houston, and I'm going back and forth. So that really is the extent of my tropical experience.
But Harvey is like throwing it in and learning to swim right there.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, I'd spent 3 summers in Corpus as a student intern, actually, as you mentioned. So there had been one tropical storm, I think Tropical Storm Bill in '05, I think, or '06. No, '05.
I think it's '05. I think it was '05.
Yeah, I think it was that. But that, again, it went in east of Corpus Christi, so we were on the drier west side and didn't really see a whole lot. So Harvey was a big change, and I was happy to be down there to help. Thankfully, I went in and I kind of helped with their what we call decision support, kind of their briefing structure, and I worked a little bit of radar for them, which is a whole nother ballgame too than severe weather radar operations, and helped with their messaging. So I'm thankful that I was able to go in and help them with that while they could concentrate on other things, including their own families.
Now, did you grow up in Texas? I'm not hearing an accent or a y'all or anything.
I haven't said it yet. Actually, I am born and mostly raised in Texas. I'm originally from the Houston area.
A little bit.
From
A little
where?
bit, yeah. I'm not a true Southern. Houston. I'm from the Houston area, but I have lived in the Chicago area about a few times, 3 times, I think.
3 times.
When I was young, I know it was back and forth. My dad he's retired from there now, was in the oil and gas industry.
Okay.
So between Chicago and Houston is where we lived.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Go Bears.
Yeah, they still cheer for that. My extended family's still up there, and they're all still Bears fans for the most part.
Yeah, they are diehard fans, that's for sure. So why don't you tell us how you got started in weather? We always ask this question.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people, especially when I was listening back on some of your previous podcasts, a lot of people point to a certain event that drew them in. And I can for me, it wasn't an event, I should say. I can remember specifically, I was sitting in an 8th grade class. I think it was math, but I'm not completely sure. And I was looking out the window, obviously not paying attention. And there was a thunderstorm in the distance. And it just dawned on me that I'm very curious about thunderstorms and how they form and how they operate. And it was kind of like that day I decided I wanted to go on and study weather. And for whatever reason, that stayed with me all the way through. And I went on to get my degree. So that's really what got me into weather.
That's amazing that you didn't pick it later. You know how you go into school and you try something and then you change your major and then.
Yes. I know. I don't know how I was so lucky enough to stay with the same degree all the way through.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because so you went to Texas A&M, then you interned, right? Then you interned because it seems like with the National Weather Service, somebody like me could never get in. You pretty much have to be born into it, don't you? I've always kind of joked with it's hard to get in.
Yeah.
You have to intern and get in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so competitive to get in now, but having that student internship, which now it's called the SCEP program, Student Career Enhancement Program. It was called it was called SCEP when I was in there. It's now called Pathways. That really helped get my foot in the door, and that program really does give you a leg up to have a permanent position within the Weather Service. But I also took the time to intern in private sector and in broadcast also during my first 2 years after freshman and after sophomore year, because I wanted to see all different sides of meteorology, and I wanted to make sure I was making the right decision. And honestly, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have been as driven to stay in the Weather Service. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity, which my student advisor actually drove me towards. I don't think I even really knew much about the Weather Service until he said something. So I'm very thankful and appreciative to him for that.
So getting coffee and dry cleaning helped? Is that what you're saying? For people there?
Not that type of internship.
Okay.
Actually, the private sector, maybe.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So here's the key. Enough of these softballs from my fellow cohorts.
Okay.
I'm bringing the fastball, Jennifer.
Okay.
Were you at the AMS meeting just recently?
No,
In
actually,
Alabama, you weren't. Okay.
no, I have not.
So Sharpie Gate. All right.
Okay.
So,
Sharpie Gate.
for those that don't know Sharpie Gate, during Hurricane Dorian, the White House had a video of some sort, but they took a Sharpie marker and they extended the National Hurricane Center's cone of potential forecast for the path and extended it with a Sharpie marker to go a little bit into Alabama and kind of go in the direction maybe they were wanting it to go. But the backlash from that is that the National Oceanic.
Yep.
What administration?
Just say NOAA. Atmospheric
NOAA.
Administration.
I was trying to say
Yeah.
because I don't know that everybody listening knows what NOAA is. But obviously I don't either, since I don't know what the acronym stands for. But NOAA, which is kind of the boss of the National Weather Service, issued a statement, I think under pressure, it seemed, to kind of back up what the White House was saying with their Sharpie, which I think was perceived to the National Weather Service as being kind of a slight against them, and the fact that they were saying, no, don't, because there was an uproar in the public that they thought this was, oh no, it's coming to Alabama, and the National Weather Service, I believe it was in Birmingham, had to say, no, it's not. Don't worry, it's not coming. And NOAA kind of contradicted that a little bit. And so I think that there was some disruption between the parents and the kids. So my question just for you, that's dying down now a little bit, but what was your personal feelings on that whole scenario?
So my personal feelings.
Put her
Welcome
on
to
the
the show.
Bill.
I know the
Put her on
fastball
the
came.
Without getting political.
I think, like you said, it's unfortunate when anybody feels like they're not backed up, by somebody, or you feel like you hopefully built a relationship of trust, and then something easily breaks that down. So there was a lot of consternation. But as I had a feeling too, there's always two sides to every story, and I don't know if we fully know the two sides to every story yet. There's talk too that there will be further investigations, and maybe someday we will or won't know, exactly what happened. But at the time, I think the weather community, though, and I was very proud of them, did a great job of kind of standing up for Birmingham and for the weather community in what they did. And I was glad to see that. It gave me a big, and I think a lot of meteorologists, a big sense of pride for what we do, and kind of, what we deal with. And because every day is, you didn't get it right, or, you messed up. So just to know that everybody has your back and is working together, and, even if Sunsets agrees, you still have that trust with them, I think spoke a lot of volume. So it was a really nice time to be a meteorologist, to have that sense of community, because even though we are big, we're still kind of small at the same time. So I guess, for me, I just tried to sit back and wait for some of the facts to come out. And I don't know if we have everything yet, and we'll just kind of wait and see what happens.
Jennifer, are you announcing your candidacy? That was perfect.
No, that is not my calling.
What did it feel like around the office? Were people, was it tense? Was it stressful? Was it angry? Was it sad? What did it how did that change maybe the office dynamics a little bit for a few days?
I don't know if locally, if it changed the office dynamics a lot. There was a lot of, as you said, probably sadness and anger, or just consternation over what happened. I don't think it caused any tension for us. I think that NOAA and Weather Service leadership were pretty quick to react to it. Even if it was 24 or 48 hours, some people will say, that's long enough. But, I think on our end, we were just happy to support our brothers and sisters over in Birmingham, and across the country and across the Weather Service, and just kind of wait to see what would happen. Really kind of hoping that it would all just be pushed aside or fall out, and we can move on beyond this. On the other flip side, though, it created it brought to light even a messaging issue. So how are we going to work to create that messaging issue to make sure that everyone's got the right information at the right time when they need it?
Yeah, because Birmingham even sent out a tweet that said they never even saw the White House thing, that they were just getting calls from their people in their counties, and sent that out. So it didn't sound like they were getting in the middle of anything political at all.
No, it didn't sound like that was their intention.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it doesn't take much to turn something political, it seems.
Well, sadness and anger is everyone's feelings after a botched forecast too. Just to let you know,
That's true.
I think the best thing I've saw since then was when you saw the snowfall totals that was up in Montana.
Yeah.
they took a Sharpie over that map and sent it on Twitter and said, Alabama looks like they're going to get their first snow of the season. And that wasn't a Sharpie. That was just a little.
Who did that, Dina?
I'm trying to think of who started it, but it went everywhere. It was
okay. But it wasn't a National Weather Service.
Oh
office
no.
Okay.
But it was like the it was the model QPF. It was the snowfall totals of all the snow in Montana. It was a national map, and then you just see a big Sharpie going all the way down to Alabama and back.
Yeah,
you gotta laugh. You gotta
People
laugh.
had fun with it. They really
you saw it, right, Jennifer?
Hey,
Yeah, I don't think I saw that one, but I saw it with the next tropical system that came up. It was I was supposed to stay off, and I saw people drawing
yeah, I've seen that. I
lines
saw
all
that one
across
too.
the U.S.
It makes me laugh. It's fun. It was funny.
Yeah.
hey, when do the winter equations kick in?
The Stormfront Freaks is now available on the Weather Store. Come shop our catalog of shirts, hats, and hoodies, all with our Stormfront Freaks logo and Outbreak logo. Plus, you'll find all your other favorite weather geek and storm chasing gear, footwear, and accessories. Visit the Weather Store at thewxstore.com, the exclusive supplier of the Stormfront Freaks.
Mesoscaleforecast.com brings us StormNet, a state-of-the-art deep learning model designed to revolutionize severe weather forecasting. The innovative tool is tailored to provide unparalleled real-time predictions of severe weather events, including probability of wind, hail, and tornadoes. And now they've added Hurricane Vision, a cutting-edge hurricane track and intensity prediction system that uses deep artificial intelligence to predict the track and future intensity of tropical cyclones. You've seen us use it on our Stormfront Freaks live outbreak coverage with meteorologist Stormcat 5. Now you can use it as well. Visit Mesoscaleforecast.com and access live data subscriptions. Plus, when you enter the code Stormfront, you'll receive a 10% discount for life. Yes, for life. Go to Mesoscaleforecast.com.
All right, so John is currently the meteorologist in charge for the National Weather Service in Louisville, Kentucky. As we said, he's also been with the National Weather Service, by the way, for 22 years, holding a variety of forecast and management positions in Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, and Tennessee, to include a journeyman forecaster at the Springfield, Missouri office from 94 to 98, to being selected as a lead forecaster at the Nashville, Tennessee office. He then served as meteorologist in charge of the Huntsville, Alabama office beginning in 2002, where he led the spin-up of the new forecast office until reporting to Louisville, where he currently works. Now, prior to the National Weather Service, he served in the Air Force. I love you, John. Both active duty, yes, and also as a reservist. His assignments include serving as a wing weather officer at Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma, and a team chief at the European Forecast Unit in Deutschland, in Germany. All right. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? That's what I Okay, yeah. Drink großes Bier. Okay. All right. Okay, so most of his career, though, was spent in the reserves as a flight meteorologist for the Hurricane Hunters out of Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. Yeah. John flew several major hurricanes, including Fran in 96, Brett in 99, Isabel in 03, Francis and Ivan, remember those well, in 04, and Katrina in 05, of course, like the busiest years ever. He has made over 90 penetrating flights since 1995. He is now retired after 20 years. Thank you so much, John, for your service.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Gordon, call you John. All right, John earned his bachelor's degree in meteorology from Park College of St. Louis University in 1986 and earned a master's in teaching of geosciences at Mississippi State University in 2002.
That's
so,
a
John,
life.
Goodness, that's a rich life. I love it. First, thank you so much for joining us.
For having
us.
me. I'm glad to be here. This will be fun.
Yeah, thanks for blessing us with your presence. And of course, thank you for your service, not just in the Air Force, but your public service. I mean, National Weather Service all those years.
Yeah, so fun. This is a fun life. Weather's the greatest job in the world. The greatest job in the world.
It always changes. So I'm with you on that, John. And I know a lot of people, and of course, they want to hear all about your hurricane hunter time. But just if you could just quickly let us know what a meteorologist in charge does. And a lot of people are
Here's
like,
a
"What
little
does that
humor
mean?"
for that. Here's a little humor for the group, Kim. MIC, that's what our title is. Basically, MICKEYMOUSE. It's a fancy schmancy title. It's like a janitor's a sanitation engineer. These titles just kill me. Basically, I help lead the office. We have a staff of 23. We work 24/7, round the clock, issuing the warnings, watches with our media partners, emergency managers. We work with the aviation community. We work with the fire weather community, the forestry, the air quality, the hydrology. It's never boring at the office.
No, I guess not. So which of your National Weather Service assignments, which one did you like the best?
What a good question.
I think I had a lot of fun when I was in Springfield, Missouri. We had a lot of weather. I've seen some of the craziest nonsense I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
November 15th, 1995, we were 80 degrees in the eastern part of our area and 35 in thunder sleet. Thunder sleet in Joplin. So we're issuing tornado warnings over by West Plains and Rolla, and there's thunder sleet, which I'd never heard of in my life. I don't know if any of you have or getting Steve's guess. That was news to me. Can't make that up, Kim.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No,
John, when you're in a situation like that, do you have someone watching the severe weather and someone watching the winter weather, or is it just kind of a combination of both?
It's a combination, but that's a great question because back then we used to have this giant radar display called the PUP, the Principal User Processor, which is no longer there. One person did all the radar. So all of a sudden, I was on radar issuing tornado warnings, and I go, I wonder what that is by Joplin. and then we got a report of thunder sleet, and I'm like, we need to dedicate some people to this problem.
Oh my gosh. Well, you get that crazy stuff there in the Midwest, though. I definitely.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Pretty awesome. I bet.
So John, I always like to ask this of anyone on the show. So what got you interested in weather? And when did it start? And
Great question, Brady. Yeah, I was 7 years old, man. I'm old. I was born when Lincoln was president, so I've been around a while. I was at the
that wasn't
inauguration.
that long ago. There's no way.
No, I'm kidding. But anyway, I was 7 years old, and Tropical Storm Agnes would not die. It would not die. It came into Florida. It came into the Carolinas. It came into Washington. It hit Rochester, New York, Western New York.
Now, where were you at this time?
I was in the Finger Lakes of Western New York, up by Buffalo, Rochester.
Okay.
Wow.
We got hit with 50-mile-an-hour winds and 17 inches of rain.
Oh my gosh.
And my dad's old black and white Zenith TV, which was very old. I used to hold the rabbit ears for him. But my dad's old Zenith TV, there was a special on the Hurricane Hunters. And I told my parents in 1972, I will do that one day.
Oh, that's so cool, John.
Awesome.
Wow.
So I live my dream.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Go ahead. You Chris,
Okay.
go.
Oh, I was just going to ask about the Hurricane Hunters. Like, what would be the most memorable moment you had in the plane? I mean, that's like, let's just start there. Like, what's the biggest thing?
Okay. First of all, let me just tell you this real quick. It's basically you're flying in a storm about 7 hours. You're flying at 180 knots at 10,000 feet, airspeed indicated. Basically flying on the left side of the wind and letting the drift from the wind, the track, push you back to the center. But to answer your question, I lost 3,000 feet in Hurricane Fran. And that will get your attention very quickly. The storm that I think we made the best difference of all was Katrina. Katrina was really not bad in the eye or the eye wall, but the east side was terrible. Very bad. Never seen an east side of a storm as bad as that one.
What do you mean by that?
I would say it was moderate to severe turbulence. It was so bad on the feeder band, 60 miles, 70, 80, 90 miles out from the storm.
Wow.
Those are the ones that came into Pascagoula and Mobile and Orange Beach. So anyway, what I think about that storm is we the Hurricane Hunters, work with the Hurricane Center to get the information out. And I better watch what I say because I'll be censored. But the governor of Louisiana and the mayor of Louisiana fumbled on the 1 yard line when they were going to win the Super Bowl. And it was very bad. It was really bad. Our data saved lives. There should have been a lot less lives lost because we gave them on Saturday night, Sunday morning of the 28th, 29th, we gave them 175 knots in the storm.
Wow.
And they had, how many hours would that be? They still had 33 hours to get people out.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse. There's no excuse. So you wanted a lively guest, didn't you?
I'm just reminiscing back then.
Like when you're in the plane, I guess it's just hard for me to fathom, those unbelievable winds, and then you're just flying through it. Like, how does the plane not go down?
Well, we fly these intercardinal headings.
Okay.
So let's say we took off in Atlanta with Kim. We're taking off out of Dobbins. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's say we're going down to Katrina. Let's say it's in the middle of the Gulf. Okay. So we're going to take a heading that's to the southwest. All right. We're going to go on these intercardinal headings. So we'll come in, we'll descend down to 10,000 feet when we're about 150 miles from the storm. And when we get to 105 point, we got to be down to 10,000 feet. We'll do a heading that's off to the southwest of 225, southwest.
Yeah.
So we'll come in with the wind 90 degrees off the side of the plane, and that will give us the navigator is my best friend over here to my right, and the navigator will give me the heading to get me to the center. A lot of times on actually the hardest mission of all, mission. That is by far the hardest for a meteorologist, by far. You got to go down there to an area of disturbed weather. I always like that on TV. I think that's fun. I'm not sure what that means.
It's sad. It's very sad weather. It's
upset. It's upset.
Very sad and upset.
But anyway, you're down to 500 to 1,500 foot off the deck.
Ugh.
On a regular hurricane plane, we're at 10,000 feet, and the drift of the wind is pushing us back to the main heading that the navigator's off. Then when we get to the eye wall, depending if it's concentric eye wall or just one eye wall, we'll make a series of drops. The loadmaster drops off I'll tell them to release. And you want to hit the maximum wind. You have to pay a lot of attention. There's a lot of data. Imagine this giant screen that we're doing the show on. There's just data everywhere. And it's 1 second data, 10-second data, 30-second data. And you're trying to use the temperature, the highest temperature, the lowest humidity, the strongest or lightest winds, as the case may be, and the lowest pressure, and the radar to use a representation of getting to the lowest pressure and the lightest wind at the center of the center. So we're dropping eye wall inbound, center drop, eye wall outbound in a span of 10 minutes maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go outbound.
Wow.
And the thing, if you ever noticed, do any of you watch the plane on Google Maps with the program?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you ever see the plane turn around and you're with your favorite drink here and you wonder, why did the plane turn around? And that's because the drop probably failed. The sun.
Okay.
If the sun fails, they're going to turn around 9 times out of 10, which is a pain in the you-know-what. But they still want that pressure. It's the pressure that drives the plane. Yeah. They want the pressure. And then you go out to 100, 105. So during that time, the nav is talking to the pilots, avoid this cell or avoid this cell, whatever. We don't fly through everything. We fly through most everything.
Yeah.
And then, so you get out to 105. I'm QCing the whole vortex message. You guys look at the vortex message, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So I sent a prelim out right away. There's a nice button called F10. Love F10. F10 saves the vortex message, the draft. As soon as I say drop, release the sound, nav, mark the spot, I hit my F10 button and it freezes, which is a nice thing. Because if you forget, that's not good, very bad. That's very annoying. You get the vortex message. I send a real one probably within 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I flew, I retired 10 years for heaven's sakes, but everyone knew when I flew because I had the most remarks of anybody.
Really?
I would put all kinds of stuff at the bottom because I was trying to help the Hurricane Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
sure.
Say, I've got a viewer question. A viewer says, "Have you ever seen the stadium effect punching through eye walls during flight?"
Oh yeah.
Oh, dozens and dozens of time.
Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, it's okay. Let's talk about this. How many of you think it's clear below me and most times at 10,000 feet in a Cat 5? It's not.
Yeah, it's I bet not.
It's
Very
not.
rare, very rare. But above, it's always clear.
Wow.
Just a little cirrus here and there. It's usually pretty clear.
Hmm.
So what you see is when you punch the eye wall, you just keep hearing it's raining so hard. I have never seen rain like this on the earth. And it smells with the engines going through it. We have 4 turboprop engines. And it's raining so hard that it smells like burnt rain.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
And the nav keeps going, we're almost there. We're almost there. And you're we're almost there. We're almost there. And then all of a sudden you pop out and it does look like a stadium. It looks like layers on an eye wall. Now I know one of you is going to ask me about the turbulence. And if a storm is steady state and doesn't really change intensity very much, it really is not that turbulent going through the eye wall. The feeder bands are bumpy, you know, but if a storm changes intensity, it is ass-kicking turbulence.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Have you ever gotten sick?
You know, that's a good question too. No, because I have good food management.
Smart.
There are some smart Alex on the plane. There's a guy, and if he's watching tonight, he'll laugh. John Fox. John Fox likes to eat gaseous food. He thinks
That's not
Before flight, even? Like,
oh, yeah. He go to a
oh,
party and eat gaseous food and walk around.
Oh,
And he would go on flights and disrupt people.
oh gosh.
what's his name? Say his name again.
John Fox, F-O-X. But anyway, no, what I do is I used to bring a sub and I would take 1 or 2 bites an hour.
Yeah.
And 10 hours later, the sub would be gone.
Wow.
So John,
So-
go ahead, Kim. Go ahead, Kim.
I was going to say, is there one hurricane that, to you is front and center that maybe I'm asking more like, is there one that you were so surprised and in awe of, maybe because of the pressure drop or whatever, that you just thought it was an incredible hurricane?
Yeah, I think the biggest one I still think it's Katrina, just because, I thought that we made a difference. So, we've got this sign that's outside the building, the world famous hurricane hunters, which I think is a bunch of baloney. But, I think it's funny.
Yeah.
But that is the time where everybody, even the pilots on the plane, a lot of times the pilots really don't care. I'm going to go on a date tonight, or I want to go get my favorite drink, or whatever. That night, those pilots, the navigator, everyone on my flight is generally from Southern Mississippi.
Yeah.
So the pilot said to me about 2:00 in the morning, and my nickname was Gordo, Gordo. And he says, Gordo, am I going to lose everything I own? Are my kids going to lose their house? And the seriousness in the plane was very different because the storm wasn't heading to Savannah. It wasn't heading to Houston. It wasn't heading to Miami. It was heading to very close to Biloxi.
Yeah.
And the seriousness on that flight, I've never seen it more serious. All I said to them was, it's not going to be good. Because if you might remember, the field elevation at Keesler is 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you take a 25-foot storm surge with waves on top of that, you do the math.
Yeah.
And I thought we made a difference. I did an interview with Geraldo Rivera that night, which is pretty funny. And I made a big mistake. So here's Brady, you'll like this. Here's my big mistake is I was doing knots in the plane. That's how I am in the plane. That's what we do. We don't do miles per hour. We do knots.
Mhm.
And I gave him I just measured 160 knots. And he goes, Major Gordon, what is 160 knots in miles per hour? I'm like, good Lord. And the pilot kept telling me, stop saying knots.
Oh,
I love that.
Yeah, so we made a difference that night. But when I said to Geraldo, my brother recorded it for me. But when I said that to Geraldo, I said, if you hear my voice and you're in Pascagoula, Bay St. Louis, past Christiane, Biloxi, crawl, walk, bike it on your scooter, get on anything you can and go north.
Yeah.
No.
Go north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're about to be shellacked. See, the problem in Southern Mississippi is these people were obsessed with Camille. Obsessed.
Yeah.
It was the storm of record. And Camille was the peanut storm, named after John Hope's daughter, Kim. John Hope's daughter.
Yes.
Camille. And Camille was the hurricane force winds in Camille went out 30 miles.
Yeah. It's very
Katrina's hurricane force winds went out 200 miles.
Wow.
Now, which one is worse?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we know now.
Mhm. I
So,
hear you.
John, when you get to go on those missions, is it something that you is there like a group of hurricane hunters that and they kind of you volunteer for a mission, or is it you get picked? Or just give us an idea of like the process of how you get selected for.
Yeah,
once you become a hurricane hunter, then how do you get on a flight?
If you go through endless training and you're in the crew, what happens is you have availability. There are 10 full-time crews stationed down there. They're called ARTs, Aerial Reserve Technicians. Okay, they're GS employees. They also are reservists. And then there are 10 crews that are true traditional reservists. I think Kim was in the reserves, but these were true TRs, traditional reservists. Okay, so I would tell them when I was available. I always gave them, smart guy, I always gave them the first 2 weeks of September.
Very smart.
I did not want to go down there and sit on my butt.
Yeah.
I said, I don't care if the flight's at 3 a.m. I don't care if some of these ungodly flights. One time I flew a storm, which was terrible. This was the worst shift I ever worked in my life. It took off at 3:20 in the morning, which meant I had to get there at 12:50. And we landed at 3:20 in the afternoon.
Oh my God.
Miserable. I mean, it's dark for 5 hours, and then suddenly you come home and it's 95 degrees and it's hotter than you know what. And everybody wants to talk to you, and you're not in a good mood.
Yeah, I bet.
Wow.
So anyway, I took my first 2 weeks. What happens is you go to the scheduler, you go to operations, I'm available, and they'll come up to you. What do you want to be on? You want to be on the first crew, the second crew, the third crew?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't care. Put me on. I'm ready to fly. Get me in the game.
Yeah.
Well, John, I think I speak for everyone on this panel and in the audience, and we, thank you for your service because, what you do does make a difference. What you did does make a difference. Regardless of what any politician would say, it's life-saving data, and it takes a lot of courage to do it. So we thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, our data, just real quick, our viewers, 25% improvement of the models. That's why we're out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it costs $1 million, $1 million to evacuate 1 mile of U.S. coastline.
Wow.
That's
crazy.
That is crazy. So I have a quick question for you, John, and this has to do with the pilots. Do they have a degree in meteorology, or they just get trained on how to fly in a hurricane?
Yes, that's exactly right, B. Yeah, they are. A lot of my friends fly for Southwest.
Really?
All over the place. And there's some people that come from long distances, real distance. There's a guy who used to commute from Guam. I mean, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Wow.
I mean,
You could just stay in Guam and do it.
Hawaii, we have Hawaii, Guam, Alaska. I mean, we're the only show in town. We're the only place you can do this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's pretty cool. I always wondered about that. So how do they train for it?
Oh, we go through a lot of storm mission training during the off season. We go through the storm descent checklist, the storm checklist. They're trained about the pilots really earn their weight. They saved my life one time.
Really?
On the Invest in Danny, what became Danny. I think that was 96, I think. And the one that hit Mobile Bay with 30 inches of rain. But anyway, we're flying down there where the oil rigs are, off Louisiana.
Okay.
And most people don't know, those are very tall. I mean, very tall. Some are even taller than the others.
Really? How tall are we talking here?
I'm going to say this wrong on TV, but I think some are close to 800, 900 feet.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Massive.
Yeah. So there was a helicopter that came up. We call them cowboys. They're not really cowboys in John Wayne, but these pilots, these helicopters just do this. They go pick up 5 workers and they do this. They don't care what's up. They came within probably 50, 60 feet of direct collision.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
And the pilots responded very, very quickly. And we actually changed our regulations. We can't go below 2,500 feet down there where the rigs are down off Leeville, Louisiana.
Okay.
So the pilots really watch. Here's another story for you. I was not on this flight because one of the guys retired after this flight. It was, I think it was 95, Tropical Storm Allison, which no one remembers. No one remembers.
I remember.
Okay, now this is not the Houston gal, Allison. This was a little one in the Gulf.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, the pilot who was a FedEx pilot and the co-pilot was on United, but he set up ahead and he had a Southern twang from Alabama, Dolphin. Tim Galloway. Tim Galloway said, "Boy, the water up ahead sure does look funny." And what they didn't realize, they ran into a microburst.
Oh man.
I saw the radar altimeter, which is basically the distance from the water to the base of the plane, the RA. I saw the plot after they landed. They went from 620 feet to 92 feet.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
So the pilots, what you do is you go full power, full torque, full flaps, and you get out of it. If you don't do that immediately, you will not survive.
Yeah.
Wow.
You will not survive. And they saved that crew. And so the next plane, Hurricane Center was shocked by this. But the Hurricane Center said, "Oh, let's fly at 5,000 feet or 4,800 foot, which is 850 millibars." But so they flew there and they got hit by a downburst. And they went and dropped to 3,000 feet. So that was one of the very few tropical storms ever that we went up to 10,000 feet for.
Wow.
Wow.
Because it was trying to get its act together. When I told you earlier, when they change intensities and they're trying to get their act together, that's when they're nasty. I mean, they're bad, not good.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you for tuning in to the Stormfront Freaks podcast. Our bi-weekly show is available on your favorite audio podcast player and on YouTube, along with videos from Stormcat 5 at youtube.com/StormfrontFreaks. Patreon team members can watch the live recording session and access other great member benefits. For Patreon details, show notes, past shows, videos, merchandise, and more, visit our website at stormfrontfreaks.com. While you're there, check out our interactive radar from our friends at zoomradar.com. If you would like to contact us with questions or make comments about the show, shoot us an email to questions@stormfrontfreaks.com or follow us on X or Blue Sky. Search for Stormfront Freaks. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time and tell a friend about the Stormfront Freaks podcast.